Now, in a few moments, we will interview from London, England, Paul Weston, who has been a guest on this show quite a few times in the past. He's a free speech advocate. He's quite a fierce critic of Islamic radicalism, too. I agree with him on some issues, but not all. Well, that's hardly the point. In fact, that is precisely, exactly, totally not the point. It is not whether you agree with someone, but whether you agree with freedom of speech that should decide your reaction to all of this subject. Now, Weston was arrested this past weekend in England for quoting the words of Winston Churchill, the saviour of democracy and the great enemy of Nazism. He did this from the steps of Winchester Guildhall. Now, here's a part of that short speech.
How dreadful are the curses which Islam lays on its votaries. Besides the fanatical frenzy, which is as dangerous in a man as hydrophobia in a dog, there is this fearful, fatalistic apathy. The effects are apparent in many countries. Improvident habits, slovenly systems of agriculture, sluggish methods of commerce and insecurity of property exist wherever the followers of the Prophet Muhammad rule or live. A degraded sensualism deprives this life of its grace and refinement.
Strong words, but a mere speech led to an arrest. Now, where the speech was made was relevant because it was in the centre of the ancient and quite lovely town Winchester that was once the capital of Old England, where Alfred the Great built his resistance to invasion and established the freedoms that Anglo-Saxons and by extension Canadians so enjoy and relish today. Now, it could be argued that Weston was making a bit of a nuisance of himself by using a megaphone, that he was disrupting the peace, even that maybe he's an extremist. We'll ask him about that shortly, but the day we arrest people for that sort of thing is a very sorry day indeed. Let's be honest here. You can be an annoying extremist in Canada, in Britain and elsewhere if your politics are leftist or Islamic enough. It's the Conservatives and the Christians who always seem to be arrested. Now, Weston is a candidate in the upcoming European elections, and he was arrested after quoting a passage about Islam. And this is important, written, as I said, by Winston Churchill. This was during a campaign speech, part of the essence of parliamentary democracy. Apparently, a member of the public took offence at the quote taken from Churchill's book, The River War, and then called the police. 6 or 7 cops arrived, they questioned Weston for about 40 minutes, and then they arrested him. As I say, I don't always agree with Mr. Weston on many things, but I do love Churchill, and I love his works and his achievements. He did win the Nobel Prize for Literature, you know, for his writing. He did save the world from racist tyranny and barbarism. And I do think that my right to free speech and to quote great literature is sacred. Now, here is something else that Winston Churchill said.
We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
Pretty good, eh? A great man who believed in freedom. Remember, pornography is allowed and protected under law. Anti-Christian and anti-Israel propaganda is allowed and protected under law. Islamic extremist ideas are allowed and protected under law. So I will quote the magnificent Winston Churchill here and now. If you don't want to hear it, watch another show. Okay, just turn it off. It's easy, simple. It's your right in a free country, just as it's my right to speak, as Paul Weston did. I quote Churchill. How dreadful are the curses which Mohammedanism lays on its votaries, besides the fanatical frenzy which is as dangerous in a man as hydrophobia in a dog. There is this fearful, fatalistic apathy. The effects are apparent in many countries. Improvident habits, slovenly systems of agriculture, sluggish methods of commerce, and insecurity of property exist wherever the followers of the Prophet rule or live. A degraded sensualism deprives this life of its grace and refinement, the next of its dignity and sanctity. The fact that in Mohammedan law every woman must belong to some man as his absolute property, either as a child, a wife, or a concubine, must delay the final extinction of slavery until the faith of Islam has ceased to be a great power among men. Thousands become the brave and loyal soldiers of the faith, all know how to die, but the influence of the religion paralyzes the social development of those who follow it. No stronger retrograde force exists in the world. Far from being moribund, Mohammedanism is a militant and proselytizing faith. End of quote. There. Arrest me if you want, but I'd rather die free than live as a slave. And I really hope you agree.